Hello again, and welcome back to the Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast, episode 88. We're happy to have you here. And did you know? I don't know if you heard about this, but have you ever heard why the two hamburger buns couldn't get along?
I heard they had a beef.
Yeah, they always had beef between them. I'm going to
Nah.
splat you with that one right off the bat today.
Well, I'll
Uh,
give you one too. How about that? So, evidently, there exists a quantity of artificial butter flavor beyond which people begin to believe it's not butter. You know what it's known as?
what?
The margarine of error.
That's pretty good. I like it. I like it. That's not bad.
Food jokes. How about that?
Oh,
That's why I went ahead and
dude.
gave it to you. Yeah.
Hey, you can't be doing that too much. I still got to eat lunch, so I'm gonna get hungry real quick today. Um, so right off the bat, let's talk about what we just got done doing, because when this comes out, it'll be uh not
Couple
quite
days
a
after.
week later, 5 days later. So we released episode 1 of Thankful Thursday,
Hmm.
and I thought that went really good. Of course, we don't know what the comments say yet. Y'all may hate it, but we hope you like it. And we really enjoyed that. I mean, well, I did. I don't need to speak for you, but I really enjoyed that. It was a little bit more of a uh, precision, kind of honed down towards that topic, of being thankful.
Yeah.
And it was just good. I liked it.
Yeah, it went well. I thought, like I said, and being thankful. That's what this episode we released, of course, was about. Those of you that watched it, but more so than that, it's just going to be a general opportunity to just kind of dive a little deeper into just encouragement, things that are, I guess, related to our lives more personally, because
Yeah.
that's something we're not trying to separate that from this part necessarily, but just
Oh,
give
no.
us a conduit to focus on it more, where we don't feel like we have to hurry and get back to, the other topics that maybe are more relevant to our general reselling podcast, which we don't do such a good job of staying on topic anyway, but that's all right. It's just scattered, smothered, and covered.
That's right. Scattered, smothered, and covered, and really covered. We
Yeah.
like to cover everything.
Yeah.
Speaking of covered, I know I've talked to you about this before, but you don't do the whole mayonnaise and the beans things, right?
Yes, I do.
Do you?
I don't know who told you that lie.
Maybe. Well, I get
The
people.
devil's a liar, man.
The devil's a liar. That's for sure. Oh, ain't that the best ever?
Oh, I don't need to do my green beans now, but pinto beans,
Oh,
peas,
pintos.
butter beans.
I've
I
never
mean,
tried it in butter beans. I may have to try that.
pretty much if it's round and it's a bean, some kind of roundish like shape, flat round. It's I don't know, green beans are kind of round, but they're long. So
Yeah. I'm,
yeah, if
I'm
it's
kind of a round shape, but I'm not a bean, so that's
yeah.
okay. No,
Man,
oh man, we need to have a food podcast maybe.
yeah.
But it's just, oh man, I love it. Tanya made some pintos. It wasn't last week's week before, and we ate on them for a few days. And man, I just love.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
I've actually been thinking about planting me a garden here. I was looking up, like, just some things. I always go a little bit overboard, so I don't want to just plant one just for the sake of planting one. I want to plant what I can actually keep up with, and
Right.
not have 40 rows of corn, 100 foot long or nothing like that.
Well,
But
why not?
well, I mean, the deers would eat it. That's why
Yeah.
not. But I wouldn't have anything. I'd have a deer bed's what I'd have. And that might not be such a bad
Yeah.
thing either.
Let
If I
them
have
eat the
a
corn,
little,
you eat the deer.
yeah, maybe I'll fatten them up and then pow, you take one out. But
That's right.
but yeah, that's something I've been looking into. Oh, and other exciting news, I bragged a little bit about how fast my internet was here,
Uh-huh.
sometime a month or two ago or whatever. They actually ran another service out here. They just came yesterday and installed Ben Lomond internet, which I had at my old house, and it was really, really good there. And it's like I pay $87 a month right now, and that is a promotional rate. My internet after a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was, is going to go up to $115. Well, the Ben Lomond internet is 56.99 forever until they go up, but
Yeah.
that's the price. So I told Tanya, I'm like, yep, as soon as it shows up, because it's gig speed too, fiber optic internet.
Mhm.
I'm like, as soon as it shows up, we're gonna hop on the other one and eliminate, well, $30 a month right now, but it would have been $50 a month at the end. So it's like, oh yeah, definitely gonna
Surely
do
the
that.
other company will lower their price once the competitor's in the same neighborhood. That don't make
Nope,
sense.
nope.
Isn't that
They won't.
crazy?
That's the only one we can get at church is Spectrum. And it's 115 a month. And I'm like, y'all don't do any kind of discount. They're like, no, we don't offer any discounts whatsoever. And I'm like, $115
Wow.
what my local guys are doing for 57 is a little bit ridiculous. Like I could see you being 75, within reason of each other, but you're double, you're double what they are. But the reason they've been able to do that here is because where they were, there was nobody else. So, but now, uh, like 4 years, probably 3 years ago, our mayor, who I'm actually related to, he's like a distant cousin, 5 or 6 cousins, something like that.
We knew you were important.
I'm not. He don't
Yep.
even know my name, but he does, but he don't claim me. But anyway, he actually got the ball rolling on getting grants around here. So in the state looked at the map and they thought that we had decent high speed internet, which was considered like 50 megs and above or something like that, I believe is what they thought. And he did surveys and did all this work, getting all the information together to send back to the state where they actually knew, concretely what we all had. But I'm telling you, no lie, we had Frontier, and Frontier here is absolute garbage. But we had Frontier at my other house years ago, and they had it capped off under 1 meg.
Mm-hmm.
It would barely, it would barely operate like back then.
Yeah.
Netflix couldn't do it now.
Uh-uh.
If you would have had more than one person on it, you could forget it. You
Oh
wouldn't do
yeah. And it
video
had
would
the buffer.
buffer all the time.
Yeah.
And downloads was horrible. I couldn't done YouTube. There's no way I couldn't have done any kind of YouTube on a speed like that. And when we
Mm.
moved to this house, it was 15 megs through Frontier. And that's all that was here for the first 3 months, and I had to use it. But when it dropped, when Spectrum showed up, true gig speed, it runs 940. I'm like, bye,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm done. And
Yeah.
funny story, I know I've told you about this. I'm pretty sure I've told you about this, that I tried to pay the final bill and nobody knew my account. Nobody could find me. Nobody this, that, and that. They never let me pay it, right? They just kept on and on about, well, we don't show that you have an account. I'm like, well, I literally have service right now. I just disconnected
Mm-hmm.
it, got all that information. They wouldn't let me pay it that day because I had to send the router back. So I got them to tell me the final total, like $92. And as soon as everything got back, right, they didn't have my right address. So the folks that we bought the house from was getting my mail.
Oh
They
boy.
were getting my bills. They got two. Two is all they ever got. And the other day they got a collections notice on the internet and they wanted 160 something dollars. So I call them up. I'm like, look, I tried to pay y'all the original 90, whatever, 90, I think it's $92 after I disconnected. I tried through phone, through the internet, and through the app. I tried all three. Nobody could figure it out. Nobody knew my service. Nobody knew who I was. And they're like, well, this is the accurate bill. Blah, blah. I'm like, well, no, that's not what you just told me. I had 1 month and 3 days of service and they prorated it. They're trying to tell me now, well, we don't prorate. I'm like, well, you told me you did back then. I said, so if you want $92, I'll pay you right now. No, we can't do that. I said, well, I don't know what you want to do, but I'm not paying you $160. I didn't have 2 months of, which it ain't even 2 months of service. They're claiming it's 2 months and like a late fee and this, that, and the other and collection fee. And this is what I went through with them when I disconnected at the other house. Back then, right, you have to understand this has been 15 years ago. Internet was $35 a month. I disconnected it. They charged me like 7 or 8 months worth all at once, 200 and something dollars.
Wow.
And I'm like, why did y'all charge me? Well, there's an early termination, and then there's you owed us 3 bills, and there's this kind of fee, that kind of fee. I'm like, no, I don't think so. And finally, we got it figured out, and it took 16 weeks. I'd call, they say, yep, it'll be back in 2 weeks, refunded. Next time, yeah, it'll be back in 6 weeks. Next time, yeah, it takes 12 weeks. It took literally 16 weeks and me threatening a lawsuit to get my money back. And they finally gave it back. So I told Tanya, if we don't have to, we won't ever use them again. And guess what? It happened again. But this time I'm on the winning side. So I don't know what they're going to do about their money, but
uh,
I'm totally willing
crazy.
to pay for my bill. That's the thing. Like,
Crazy.
but you can't win. They will not talk to you about it. They're like, no, sir, you owe $160. I'm like, I don't owe $160. I don't
Right.
know where you get that from. They can't even tell me where that charge comes from. Just you owe $160. I'm like, well, good luck. you're fishing and you're
Yeah,
not gonna catch. Nothing's biting. Sorry.
for real, for real. And speaking of fines, I'm glad that I am not an LLC or an S corp today.
Yeah,
Uh,
me too.
been seeing all the content people have put out about the BOIR, the beneficial ownership information reports that they've reinstated, and evidently there's some pretty steep penalties if you don't get it submitted on time. But from what I understand, sole proprietors are not going to be required to do that, or they haven't been in the past, because when you're a sole proprietor, they already know who you are.
Yeah, that's right.
There's no denying who owns the business when you're sole proprietor, so it doesn't really apply to you as much. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. So I know a lot of resellers do operate as an LLC or an S corp, especially if they start doing YouTube and other things, because it kind of combines everything into one entity. And allows them to have have it set up where, they just make a payday, all the money goes into the business and then they just get
Right.
cut a check out of it. So it kind of simplifies things for tax reasons and stuff like that. When you're big enough, if you got a big enough operation.
Right.
But yeah, I'm kind of glad I haven't got to that point yet, at least for now, because I got enough on my plate without having to worry about
Oh,
something else to deal with. So,
who needs it? Who needs
oh
it,
man.
man? You know.
But
You know
for all of
something.
you out there, I just want to say, for all of you out there that do have an LLC or an S corp, you might want to do some searching on YouTube if you haven't watched the video yet. Do some Googling and find some information, because it's something that they are going to require you to do.
That's right. I don't want to get political, but I am going to get a little bit. So I done my taxes like 2 weeks ago. I got them finalized, everything turned in. And, whether you fall on the side of you love Trump, you hate Trump, you love this administration, you hate it, that's not the point. I got my tax check back quicker than I've ever got it back. Usually it's 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It came back in under 2. And I was like, man,
Wow.
that's really quick. Like I finally got, it turns in and it says they accepted your submission and then they approved your return and then they send your return, right? 3 stages.
Yeah.
Well, by the time they accepted my return, it changed from accepted to approved. And the next day, my check was in my bank account. And I'm like, man, I told Tanya, it said you're approved, returns are approved, everything's good. And it said your check should be in the bank by like 3/1. So that was like another 2 weeks off. And I'm like, that's fine, whatever. No, the next day I look at my bank account and I'm like, whoa, what's up? There's a
Wow.
little bit more money in there. And sure enough, is there. So
Nice.
I don't know what has been going on at the IRS, but they're moving a little quicker this year,
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
which could be good or bad depending on
Yeah.
the side of
Maybe
the
they're
fence.
just trying to get ahead of the curve so they can have more time to work on audits. you know,
Don't say
I mean,
that.
I don't know what I'd rather them be behind, so they're
Yeah,
so see
maybe.
the next tax year chasing them while they're finishing up the one before, so they don't have time to think about it.
True. That's very true. Oh
Not that we're trying to hide anything either, so don't nobody misinterpret that. But I'm human. I mean, I
yeah.
do my best. I want to pay everything. I think I've said this before. I want to pay everything that I owe and nothing that I don't. And I'm sure that I come out on the losing side of that equation because of me being apprehensive to take certain credits or do certain things because I don't understand the tax code well enough. But I also save by not having to hire someone to do it. And so I hope that in the long run, eliminating that cost is more than the amount that I might leave on the table. I hope. I hope.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm always weary that I don't take something I'm not supposed to take, something I'm not entitled to, but I go the extra mile to make sure I take everything I'm supposed to take
Yeah.
also. Yeah. So, yeah, it might take me a couple of hours longer than it should because I go back through and I double check and I double check again. And I try to be thorough. You've seen my spreadsheets, 7 million of them,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure I've kept up with every expense I know and everything that I can possibly keep up with. Just because it may make the difference between you owing $500 or you getting $500,
Right.
it's the difference. So that's the way I look at it. Like, and cheap plug time. My Reseller Genie can help you do all that stuff too, and even better than what a spreadsheet might do, because you may forget 1 point, 2 points of what you need to keep up with. They've got you covered, man. So if you don't know
Mm-hmm.
about My Reseller Genie, go check them out, myresellergenie.com. use the code 2OldGuys. I believe it's with an exclamation point. I keep saying I'm going to check. I know it's in the description. I'm sorry, guys. I'm lazy. I need to check that, but it's two. There's a code down below that you can use. Helps us a little, helps you a little. But that product is great, especially at this time of year. Like this is the time of year to use that for sure.
Yep, definitely. And if you're like me, you realize that tax season is not necessarily over until October. So, I mean,
So you just got done with your taxes, is what you're saying?
yeah, I mean, I'm not itching to get started again. I mean, I just got my refund back a couple months ago.
You're
Yeah,
good.
I mean,
Let's wait
somewhere
a
I
little while.
think it was December or January I got it back. So
Oh
I'm
my
yeah.
goodness.
I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't submit till October. I mean,
Wow, that's
once I
crazy.
filed for the extension, I had till October 14th. I think I did it like the first couple of days of October. So I mean, like you say, it's 6 to 8 weeks to get it back. So
Right.
I know it was in December at least. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure it was in December. But no, the
See,
time is good around Christmas.
I'm all about like getting it done and getting it out of the way. Now, I mean, if I owed a big old chunk of money, I'd probably wait, give
Yeah.
me time to save. And because, to be honest, I've had until 2 years ago, was it 2 years? Let's see, Logan's fixing to turn 20. It's when they're 17, the year they turn 18, you lose their credits. So from the 17th year forward, I think's the last one you get. So I had the two kids tax credit. That helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Last couple of years I hadn't had Logan. I just had Bailey. Well, she's turning 17 this July. So next year I don't know that I'm going to get. I might get 5 months if I get anything partial. I can't remember how that works, but either way, that's a big chunk of good credit you get. After that, it's going to be tough
Yeah.
because you know I've always tried, and I know this is not necessarily a loophole, but if I have a big purchase, I try to find a way, if there's a way possible, to use that as business. I will use it as business. If it's not possible and it's not ethical and moral and all that stuff, I won't. But it helps. And I mean, you're talking, it could make the difference between owing 5,000 or getting 2,000.
Right.
So you gotta. I think it was Kevin Commonwealth Picker. Somebody asked him, "Do you claim your chickens?" Jokingly they said
Mm-hmm.
that, I believe, and he said, "Absolutely." For his YouTube revenue because
Yeah.
they are part of his channel.
Puts them in the video.
I'm like, that's smart.
Yeah.
Claim everything. I mean, if the government says this is legitimate to claim it, claim it. There's
That's
nothing
why he
wrong with
puts
it.
the pets in. I mean, if you did when he did,
Yeah,
and he makes, and it's not like a novelty. He puts them in nearly every episode.
yeah.
Like, I mean, he's not trying to get in trouble for it. Like he makes a
No,
point of including them, and that allows him. I'm sure he can count veterinary expenses because they're like actors in his show.
yeah,
That they get paid for. They're part of the source of income.
absolutely. And to me, I can't find fault with that. I feel like that's smart business. A
Yeah,
lot of people are saying, well, I mean, they say the same thing in our comments. Oh, I not necessarily mind because I don't have a YouTube yard selling channel. I don't video my yard selling, but I have one. I just don't do anything on it. But you know, I've seen them in a lot of people's channels come in and say, "You're robbing these people. You're stealing from these people." And it's like, if you name your price and it's $20 for whatever that is, and I agree to pay that price, is that not fair business? Like that's what you want, and that's what I'm willing to pay. I don't see it as robbery. Now, if you know what you got and you want more money and I'm willing to pay it, that's the same scenario.
yeah,
I have made purchases a lot of time blindly, thinking it could be worth a little something.
sure.
I go ahead and buy it. I take the risk and I get the reward. But if they get the amount they wanted, then they also got what they wanted. So to me, it's just win-win business. But I've seen those comments and I'm like,
Well,
it, it,
people aren't having yard sales to make a living. They're
no,
having a yard sale. A yard sale for 98, 99% of people that have one, a yard sale is like one little step above throwing away and donating.
it is.
It's let's see if we can get a few dollars out of this before we carry it down to Goodwill.
Yep.
So, the
Exactly.
reality is, I mean, I don't even feel bad. I ain't trying to rob nobody, but I don't feel bad for negotiating. If it's going to be a $30 item and I got $10 on it, I mean, I might try to see if they'll take 5, because
Yeah.
just because it sells for 30, folks, don't mean I'm getting $30.
No.
I'm not getting nowhere near
No.
$30. And the more I pay for it, the less I get. So, and then I got to take it home, clean it up, take pictures, store it, ship it, buy materials. I've got all the overhead costs also that go along with working for yourself. Like, you got to make a pretty good percentage off of each item you buy, or you can just chalk it up and say, no, can't do that.
That's exactly right. I wish I had the numbers in front of me. I know just from what I do, I've had a pretty good couple of weeks now, and I don't care to share the numbers. Like, it don't bother me. Um, I'll pull that up and look real quick, but
All right.
just like, probably the last 2 weeks, I'm guessing I've had an average of about 200 a day, 175 to 200 a day. Um, okay, Sunday. I'll give you Sunday for example, $454 Sunday. How much did I actually make out of that $454? Well, law of averages, I can give you a pretty close guess to about two and a quarter. That's about two and a quarter for me on average. Now that could be a little more, a little less specifically
Yeah.
for that day, but that's the law of averages. Now, how much did I have to do to work to actually get that $250? Well, that's listing, cleaning, testing, taking pictures, storing. I'm paying an electric bill to run a heater. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into
There is.
you made $250. If you're talking about going out and finding a copy of whatever video game that's worth $1,000, you throw it on eBay and you buy an envelope and ship it off. Yeah, it costs you $2 to make $150. That's a little different. We're not hobby resellers. We're
Mm-mm.
doing this as a full-time living basically, and
Yeah.
it changes the dynamic. I'm fixing to have to buy bubbles. I was thinking about that yesterday. Though there's another $50.
Yeah.
Just it's like somebody asked my wife's uncle one time because he buys and sells quite a few cows, and they said, "Boy, you're really raking it in, ain't you?" He said, "Yeah, but the problem is I'm shoveling it right back out." And I was
Yeah.
like, "That's an accurate term. If
Yeah.
you're in any kind of business, that's the way it goes."
And it's not a complaint. And I know I bring this up a lot, but again, at the end of the day, and this is where I've been kind of reassessing kind of the way I do things to a degree, like what I buy, what I don't buy, what I list and don't list. You know, we don't. I'm not trying to. I worry about my wording of some things. Now, I don't want to offend anybody. Like, I've worked for minimum wage. When I started working my first job, I was making $5.15. That wasn't for my dad. I worked for less than minimum wage for my dad for years.
Yeah.
But when I got my first job as an older teenager, I was working for a concrete company. I was dragging concrete. I was running a concrete rake. That was my job all day, and I made $5.15 an hour. And the man liked me so good that he let me work overtime, and he still paid me $5.15 an hour from overtime. So if I worked 60 hours, I got $5.15 an hour. That's what I
Oh my
got.
goodness.
So, but that's what minimum wage was at the time. I mean, I understand
Yeah.
that, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You do what you got to do, and
Yeah.
you get by. So don't take it the wrong way, but like, what making the decision to do resale. This is why some resellers have been back and forth. Some have tried full time and going back to working full time and doing it on the side. Some have
Yeah.
gone back and gotten a part time job and split time between the two. There's definitely a full time income that can be made from reselling. But then our financial situation dictates how much that full time income has to be. Whether or
Yeah.
not we have a partner that's working, contributing to the household affects how much that income has to be.
Mhm.
What we feel like we need to live on, and how we grow our business. Sometimes, it's not that we can't even get to that next step up on income wise, but one of the ways we have to be careful about doing that, what I'm getting to is, when you're making these decisions on what to buy and you're looking at all the costs that go into it, that also affects the bottom line of what you're making per hour.
Oh
you
man.
know so yeah,
100%.
you might be making a lot off of an item, but when people look at that and say, oh, you've brought, but what is that person that's doing this for a living actually making per hour for their week, buying and reselling these items? By selling that, is that just getting them up to $12 an hour that they clear? Because last time I looked, again, it's not hard to find $12 an hour jobs these days in retail and stuff like that. Home Depots, Walmarts, a lot of fast food pays $10 to $12 now. I mean, so it's not hard to find that kind. It's not getting rich money, is my point.
And then you're
It's not
home.
fleecing people.
And then you're home at 3 o'clock, or and you get a vacation and you get medical and, we
Yeah,
have to
there's
build
other
all that
costs.
in. Yeah, we got to build all that stuff in.
Yeah.
And medical, I mean, you've got to make pretty good money to be able to pay for. I remember, wasn't this year's, last year, Tanya, if she stayed where she was at and got her insurance, it was going to be $1,600 a month. And I was like, we just can't drop that much on insurance. There's just not enough room. So when she went to her new job, she got a raise and she went from 3 days to 4 days, but she pretty much works her 40 hours in 4 days and goes in for an hour or two on Friday. But then she got provided health care. So the health care would have been completely free for her, but adding the kids on brought it up to a couple $100 a month. I think it's like 250 a month. So my point here is we don't get to do that. I can't just throw healthcare in because I work for myself. I have to pay that 1,500, 2,000, whatever it's going to end up being. Fortunately, I don't have to, but I mean, a lot of people have to come up with something. And you think about if you are a family of resellers that's what you do. Like you don't have any other opportunity to work. You just resell. You have to provide that.
Yep.
That's just the way it is. So, yeah, the robbing people thing. I mean, it's a hustle. It really is a grind. It really is.
Yep.
It's more than full time work because for me, I'm always looking for an opportunity to make money. Not because I'm greedy. I'm not greedy. I mean, I give plenty of it away. I'm not being greedy about this.
No, because the power bill is $400 or $500 at the moment.
Exactly.
You know.
But But just like the other night, we went to a FFA, silent auction, live auction, support the FFA type chili dinner thing, and we bought food and we did everything. We bid on stuff, and we come around through there, and I bid on some stuff, and they had this spool gun for a like a MIG welder type deal, and or TIG welder, whichever one.
Yeah.
Anyway, the bid was up to like $30, and I'm like, well, I'd give 40. I think it's 40 or something like. So I just put my bid on there, and I went and I looked it up real quick, and I'm like, holy crap, this thing's selling for like $275. Well, I've already bid on it, and I'm like, well, I mean, somebody will surely outbid me for that. And I went back at like 2 minutes before it closed, and nobody bid anymore. And I'm,
Wow.
well, okay, that's fine. And we bought more stuff. People are probably thinking, well, cheapskate, he should have wrote $100 on there or whatever. I mean, I had no idea when I bid, like what
Right.
it was worth. And that's the thing, I could bid it up $100 or whatever, but I also bought the risk of somebody might return it or somebody might break it and send it back because that happens too.
Yep.
Or they might steal a part off of it and send it back and I can't resell it and I've lost money. So I mean there's lots of risk in business too. And people they don't always think about that side of things when they make those comments. I really think they just make those comments blindly a lot of times.
And whether it's $40 or $100, the more you invest up front in an item to resell, the greater amount of risk you're taking on for that one item. Because that $100, say if you'd have bid it up to 100, that $100 in yard sale season will buy a lot of inventory items that sell for $20 to $40. A lot of them. A lot of them. Or you can buy one for 40 that sells for 200 and then get in the place where you lose your $40, like you said, because it gets damaged or something in return, you can't resell it, or you find out it doesn't work or whatever happens, so you got to be so careful.
Yeah, there's a handful of things that can happen. And, we're fortunate that they don't happen often. It wouldn't take much though, it wouldn't take many times of stuff like that happening where I'd say, I'm not making any money this month. Like it's not happening because you sell a couple of $200 or $300 items and they get returned or broke or whatever. I mean, that don't take long before it eats up your profits.
I think it's like this too for us, for you and me especially. I know because we know a good bit about each other's business models, so to kind of how we operate. Like there's not that many items in our stores that classify like that.
No.
There comes a point where, if you want to scale up, you have to start paying up.
Yeah.
And if I had, if we both had 1,000 items or more listed in our store that were all in that same price range, we'd probably still have the same overall rate of return. But the amount of capital that we'd have to have up front to buy that many items in those price ranges would be way different than the 1,000 items we normally have listed. Way
Yep.
different, like the amount of money we have wrapped up in it. So we'd have way more like value in goods sitting on our shelves, but they'd also sell for much higher prices at much higher margins. And that's again, we're talking about scaling up your operation. I think there's a point at
Mhm.
which if that's what a person's really wanting to do is grow their income through reselling, you've really got to look into that. But early on, you may be tying up more money per item than what you're used to, and returns can hurt worse
Yep.
because of that, because you're operating with a smaller amount of capital. But as you grow and begin to make those bigger sales more consistently, your capital supply will grow for investing in new stuff. And you may actually be able to grow your payday by 15, 20, 25, 30% because of
Yeah.
that. But that's the only way to do it. But it's a scary way to do it because, like I said, the
Mhm.
amount of money making that transition will be hard,
Oh, yeah.
if you haven't already done it. And there's a big difference, man. There's such a big difference between doing this as a side hustle, doing it as a hobby, and doing it as a full-time income. It's just, there's a big
Mhm.
difference, a world of difference. If you make a bad choice or two, but you're still working your job and you at least break even on the items you make bad choices on, that doesn't really hurt you that bad because your bills are paid. You're still working your job. But if you're doing this to pretty much try to cover everything, you got to try to eliminate those issues.
Mhm.
And that's why I think, from our perspective, we really push the idea and the thought of, buying as cheap as possible. It's not to take advantage of people. It's because you're going to have enough losses when you're trying your best to do everything right and do it well, like within your business. So you
Yeah.
got, the lower you can keep your cost of goods and still be buying quality inventory that's going to flip, the more likely you are to succeed if you're going to try to do this full time.
Mhm.
At least early on. Now I think there is, like I said, there's a success is defined a lot of ways by different people. It's not the same for me as it is for someone else. There's a
Right.
lot of people that wouldn't want to live on the income that I generate, that I feel like I would be comfortable. And I know my wife works, but I'm saying even if my wife left, I still have a number in mind, right? I've got a
Mhm.
number in mind that I feel like if we had this much, this would be sufficient for us. But for some, that would be more than they need. And for others, that would be probably not half of what they feel like they need. And that's
Right.
okay. But you got to work that out. And if you're needing yours
Yeah.
to scale up even higher, you know, than what we normally talk about, then you got to look again at scaling up how much you invest a lot of times to get there, because you have to have better inventory. It sells for higher prices in order to make that happen.
Oh, yeah, you do. It's all, I guess it's all just, you know, it has to be looked at from a person to person point of view. I know what I got to have, and somebody else, maybe they don't have a reselling space like I have. So they look at it from a different point of view, like maybe it takes up part of their home, and this is what I have to sacrifice to do this, that, and the other, whatever. So it's a matter of figuring out what works for you. But
Yep,
on the brighter side of things, it's almost not quite, but getting close to yard sale season.
it is. It is.
And man, I'm getting excited.
Well, hey, last couple of days it's been in the 70s around here during the day.
That's here
Like I
too.
told you earlier, if it was like that on a Saturday, I know for a fact there'd be people that would try to be the first ones to get their stuff out while the
Yep.
people are, kind of hungry to get out and be outside and go to sell. So it's exciting. I don't know how much time I'm going to have again this year because of circumstance to be able to do that regularly, but it's still an exciting time of year for resellers. It's the time when most of us, if we're able to operate the way we want, probably get most of our inventory.
Mhm.
And it's just, man, you never know what you're going to find.
I know.
That's
You
it
see
may
all
be
the
nothing, but
you see all these things that are shiny, Rick, these red ball looking things.
oh yeah, yeah.
For those of you listening, sorry you can't see it, but they're Christmas ornaments that have names on them, like you personalized, Danielle and Joey and Renee or whatever. I've got probably like 300 of those ornaments. I've been going through them, sorting out by name and like lotting together. If I had 5 of this name, putting them in bags and separating them. So, long story short, last year at yard sales, I found all these two baskets about so big, about a foot long by about 8 inches wide by about 4 inches deep. Two baskets like that, full of just they're small, like probably inch round ornaments, just little small ornaments. And I asked the lady, I said, "What do you want for those?" And it was like $10 for all of them. I'm like, "Holy cow, okay." And there was another basket of little license plate keychains that are like 6 inches long that have names on them. Well, I've already listed the keychains the other day. I had like 88 pieces in that, and that listed out. They were literally selling for $12.99. So I've got mine listed at $12.99. And but this is the great thing about yard sales. So I paid her price. I gave her exactly what she wanted. Uh, by listing all those the way I did with a variation listing, with you just select the name you want, basically there's like $1,500 worth of profit there, or not profit, worth of sales, probably about $700-800 worth of profit if all of them sell full price. So
Yeah.
that's really good, really good. The ornaments, I think there's probably more like 400 or 500 pieces of those, and they also sell for around $12.99. So it's going to be a similar situation. It's going to be a variation listing. All of them's in that one listing. You pick your name. That's what you want. That's what you get. Ship them out for $3, 350. I think the lowest shipping option is about 350 now. So 350 minus cost of goods minus fees. Say I'm out like $4, 450 a piece. I'm going to make about $6 a piece. So I mean, I'm really happy with that, because that's going to end up being like $1,000 in profits.
Yeah.
So but that's yard sale beauty right there, right? Like
Right.
them ornaments, somebody says, well, you could have been good to them and helped them list them on eBay. These people don't want that. First of all,
Yeah.
they don't want the responsibility of having 300 ornaments on
Yeah.
eBay that they're going to sell one every 3 days or every week,
Yeah.
once a month, and then they've got to stop what they're doing and go figure out how to ship one. They don't want that.
Yeah.
They,
There's
they
there's
want
been a
to
lot
get
of people since I started doing this, they'd be like, I want to try that, and it's like, and that's good. It's for some people, it's not for some people.
Yep.
They'll buy a few things. I try to, you tell them, give them some tips on what to look for. They list a few things. They sell that first thing that's breakable, for instance. Like they're like,
Yeah.
well, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, you're
Yep.
gonna have to mail it, but you got to make sure it doesn't break. How am I supposed to do that?
Yep.
Well, you got to just pack it really well. Find the box and use bubble wrap paper. I don't have any paper or bubble wrap. Well, you're gonna have to go buy some to ship it. Yeah, I got to
Yep.
buy more stuff. Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't make but
Oh yeah.
$8 on it. It's gonna cost more than that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna pack it unless you're
right.
selling hopes and prayers on
Yeah,
eBay.
I know. So I
Yeah.
was like, sometimes like, yeah, I'm not so sure I want to do this all the time. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, that's just what it is. That's the
That
routine.
that that is it's work in
Yeah.
the simplest form. It's work, and
At the end of the day, it's what it is.
it's just work. That's what my former pastor used to tell me. He'd say, people talking about not being able to find a job. He said, I guarantee you go down the road to the old farmer. He's got work for you, cleaning a
Yep.
fence row or picking apples or, mending to the cattle or what. He says, just old work. He
Yeah.
said, that's what it is, just old work. And he said, if you're willing to work, you'll be all right.
And you
And
may not get paid what you want, but you get paid
no,
something.
if you get to eat, that's better than not,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
And Dave Ramsey, he says the the best thing to do for to stimulate your life and to change your whole outlook is get a job. It
Yeah.
instantly, in an instant, changes your whole life.
Oh,
And
there's to my like gardens and stuff. There's a lot of the older folks that continue to do their garden that have put up signs, and they'll let people they'll let them come pick their pea patch for the halves.
yeah,
You pick them for me today, and you get half, and I'll take half. Just so
yeah,
they don't have to get it because it's hard on them. But
and
they still, yeah,
that's basically, I mean, that's basically capitalism right there in
mhm,
a nutshell. Like, you win, I win. You
yep,
work, reward for you, reward for me. I provide the product, you provide the work. I mean,
right.
everybody wins.
And nobody's making you do it. You do what you choose to do.
Oh,
You
You
do what you
come,
choose to
if
do. You
you
say,
get a
well,
basket full and you're happy, go home. If you want a 5 gallon bucket full, stay. If you want 10 5 gallon buckets full, there it
yeah,
is.
that's it.
Opportunities there. And that is America in a nutshell, man. It's
It
the land
is.
of opportunity. You make what you want to of it. And you know, same goes with reselling. We can make what we want to of it. I remember the first time I was all in. I was like ready to go. Tanya was still apprehensive about the big buy, like
Mhm.
dropping a big chunk of money. But we was at a yard sale here local, and this guy I'm talking, he had a garage, a double car, 2-car garage, and
Right.
down this whole wall was die cast like NASCAR and everything else, like the 128 scale, I think it is, the ones that are in like
Yeah.
the 12x6 boxes. And I'm asking him, I'm saying, well, how much do you have to have a piece, And I think he started out around $5. And I'm like, well, that's a good starting place. And I think I got him down to like $3 a piece. And I told Tanya, I said, I think I'm going to buy everything. And she's like, that's like $1,000, And I'm like, well, we'll make money, but we was still so new that there was that fear of losing, like, can we really sell all
Yeah.
this? Well, long story short, I bought like $150 worth. I just kind of went through picking out what I really, really wanted and ended up making like $1,500 off of it.
Yeah.
So there is a fear and a apprehension about jumping in the
Yep.
deep end too quickly. And I totally get it. Like, it's probably better to wait out, get your feet wet, learn what you're doing, just
Oh,
like you
for
just
sure.
said, because you're going to be like, well, wait a minute, I bought them. Now I've got to sell them, and how do I ship them? So there's all this learning curve. It's not
Yeah.
hard, but there is a learning curve. But then later on, a year later, I roll up to a guy's trailer at one of the yard sales in Nashville that we go to, and he's a dealer. He's a dealer of all these Hot Wheels, right? These die cast. Same situation. It's like the 128 scales, but he has a bunch of special edition stuff I knew was good. And I told Tanya, well, the difference between this day and all other days was the truck's already full and we got to come back home.
Right.
So I'm talking to this guy and I'm talking the bed's full, the back seat's full. Bailey and Briley are in the back seat. Tanya's in the front seat. One of them's holding the TV already. Like, they are full. And I said, Tanya, I've got to buy some of these. Like, they're too good. The guy started at $10. I'm like, dude, I can't, I can't make any money. I said, I'll be honest with you, I'm going to go home and sell these, and I just can't make any money. And as I'm looking, he said, I tell you what, if you buy enough of these, I'll sell them to you $4 a piece. I'm like, well, I can, how much is enough? He said, you spend like $150, I'll make that deal. I'm like, okay. I look at the truck and they're like, you know, where are we going to put it?
Yeah.
So I come away with $150, $200 worth of these die casts. Literally, we're stuffing them in around the girls. And I'm telling you, they rode home holding stuff from Nashville, which is about an hour and a half, all the way home holding this stuff. It's up beside me, Tanya's lap. We can see them back there. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And I'm telling you though, but that was one time I didn't bring my trailer with me, and I wished I had, because I
Right.
probably bought his trailer empty, because he went, like I said, he was a dealer. He went to shows and set up shows, and he didn't have anything that was not worth $25.
Yeah.
And I sold several of them for like $50. That was just like the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I remember that pretty well. At that time, the Nebraska Cornhuskers NASCAR diecast and a 128 scale special edition was a $50 car. John Wayne was a good one. I'm telling you, he had everything like Scooby Doo.
Wow.
He had John Wayne. He had football. He had regular NASCAR, which I kind of stayed away from because that's the stuff that ain't as good, but
Right.
everything. But yeah, uh, I'm excited about yard sales. How about you?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like the other day, it's been just this last week on one of the pretty days. This is a good example of the kind of things like that, like you're talking about, that happen. Now, I didn't get to be first in line here. I thought it had just been listed. I messaged immediately. So I happened to open up Marketplace, and there was this listing. It didn't have the exact number, 75 to 80 Cabbage Patch dolls.
Oh man,
This is like an adult collection. They got them out in the yard, like they pulled them out to the yard, like and they got them set up. There's 6 of their high chairs. Like, this is a collection.
oh man.
I see like 10 or 12 of them that are still new in the box. They're vintage. I mean, there's 2 boxes full of just extra clothes. They want $250 for everything.
Oh wow.
I know. I jumped on it immediately, said I would like to buy all this. When could I come? I mean, they had good pictures. I mean, they were clean.
Yeah.
The ones that were in boxes, like the casino spots, the hair was in good. Like, they hadn't been played with. It was like an adult collection.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this could be really good, because just one of them could have been. There was probably one in that collection somewhere that's worth $300 or $400. There's probably at least one that was rare. And I mean, if they're not, they sell for what, $25, $30 a piece. Somewhere in that range most of the time. So, and then the clothes. I mean, everything has value. And like I said, several of them were sealed, but anyway, I missed out on it. But those types of things, that's what you look for, whether it's the Hot Wheels, when you find someone that's got a collection, whether it's a dealer or just a private collection, and they're ready to move on from it, those are some of the best things. I think it's a little bit daunting when, as the reseller, when you come back, and I've learned this, buying bulk, it can be intimidating. Like if you buy 8 CDs at a yard sale, it's not intimidating to list those. You go buy somebody out that's got a couple thousand and bring them home, it's kind of intimidating.
It
When
can
you
get
buy,
intimidating.
yeah. Well, when you buy 8, you've already scanned them real quick and you're buying just the 8 that you want. But when you buy out a collection, you got to go through every one of them to figure out which ones to price what, which ones sell on their own, how to group them. And then it's just a lot of work, and that's all you're going to be looking at for a long time, time, only CDs, So, I mean, you got to know you're committed to those things. That's part of the fun of selling everything sometimes is the variety of the listing too. It changes up, but you got to do what works. And there's so much money in those buyouts, so much money in it. It just
tons.
You got to watch for them if you're going to do this seriously.
So speaking of a marketplace find, we made a marketplace find this week too.
Sure did.
Not for reselling. This is for personal use. 8:00. What is today? This is Wednesday. So 8:00 Monday night. Tanya found this, and it was in Cookeville, which is about 45 minutes or so from us, something like that. It's a vehicle. We've been looking for a vehicle for Bailey because her car has been messed up, and we're going to have to get it fixed. I'm going to take it to the shop, get everything I can fixed, and then sell it off. But we found this, and we had to leave home at 5:30 to get to Cookeville in time yesterday morning to buy it before anybody else did because it was that good of a deal. But check this out.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that's a 2003 Chevy Silverado. And if you look close, there is no rust anywhere on this thing. It's immaculate. Like I'm telling you, I told Tanya, I said, I think they drove it off the velvet pillow. Look at it, because it's and if you know anything about the older Chevys, I've got an older Chevy. It's a 2002. It's got the common rust around the rocker panels starting to show up, around the wheel wells and all that. And it's just the way it goes. Salt, when they salt the roads, if you don't get it off, it eats it up.
Look, my uncle, he's got a 2004 that he bought with, I think it had like 30,000 miles on it when he bought it, and he's had it a long time. But when his clear coat started peeling, and it's one of those, it's lowered a little bit. It's like the factory's package with the skirting and stuff around. It's really nice truck, really nice truck. And he likes a higher truck, but he's got, he's in his 70s, so he wanted something to be easy to get in and out of. That's why he got it. But point being, when you find something what you found, like his truck probably has 120,000 on it now, maybe if that, And about 3 years ago, he had the entire thing stripped down and repainted, ground up. I mean, the paint job is just like, perfect, not a scratch on it. And but he loves his truck. The interior is perfect. I mean, whenever if it ever gets sold or something ever happens to him, somebody's going to probably have a truck with less than 150,000 miles that's like brand new. I mean, and they're out there. They're hard to find, but there's a few of them out there.
This was that situation because it's like the lever for the blinkers and the wiper fluid and all that. It don't even look like anybody's ever touched that. I actually wondered if they didn't replace it because it looks brand new. And
yeah,
a lot
they're bad
of stuff
to
looks brand
wear.
New. Yeah, they wear easy. Mine's wore off. You just got to know where it's at.
You operate by feel.
Operate by feel. Well, let's mention a couple of meetups real quick before we hit our sales and our comments. Yeah, we're getting close. So we want to mention this. We got Ray and the Nashville meetup coming up in April.
Yeah. About 2 months off.
About 2 months off. And Ray messaged me the other day, invited me out. And unfortunately, I won't get to go because that falls on the weekend where Logan turns 20. So we're going to be spending our weekend with him, I'm sure.
Well,
so
you can bring him and still spend it with him.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a dream weekend for Logan, hanging out with a bunch of resellers, for
what
his
if I'm there?
Well, that'd help. That would help because you could cook something for him.
We might can make it happen,
That would definitely help him a whole lot. But
well, you might have to run it by him. We're kind of up in the air. We would love to go to more stuff. Period.
I would too.
But we've been kind of, that one's closer to home. I'd love to go back to Omaha. I mentioned that one too. Planes to Profit. It's only a month away. It's even closer.
But they're sold out, right?
Yes, I think so. but
or if not very, very close.
yeah, well, yeah. And he's kind of held me a spot in case we get to come, but I don't think it's going to work
Right.
out. Like I said, it's just the logistics of getting there is a lot harder. With
Oh yeah.
Nashville, we're only 3 hours away. So if we had to book it and come home, we can be home quick,
Right.
So
Right.
we've looked at it. My wife has actually talked to her mom, who has sat with Mother before for us when we needed someone over like a day or two. And so we've looked at maybe trying to we got to wait and see what's going on. We can't plan it 2
Right.
months out. We'll be kind of last week or two before we make that final choice. But we may try to ride up that Friday and stay overnight and then just come back Saturday. We won't be staying the whole weekend. If we
So
win, it'd be for
that's kind of what I thought about doing at first too, was just going down for the Friday night thing and
yeah.
coming back. But even then, like Logan works till 5 o'clock. So if I go, I won't see him all day, which that would be, I think that's the 24th, right? 24th. I think he
25th.
25th. So that's 2 days after his birthday, but that'll be like the night we'd probably go eat or do whatever.
Yeah.
And then Saturday spend the day with him, and then Sunday, of course, is church. So it just kind of it wrecked it for me being that weekend, but it is what it is. I mean, it's fine.
I was gonna
So
say all I can tell you is you kind of lucky or blessed, maybe we should say blessed, that he don't yet have a really important other person in his life. Because man, when that happens, you won't get 3-day weekends with him no more on his birthday. You'll be
I
lucky if you
know,
get to see him. You might have to call him just to be able to talk to him.
I know
And you know how that is though. It changes things.
it does. It changes things, and he's got his mind focused on work right now, and he wants to buy him some land. He wants to be close. Like he's waiting. They're building a road behind us. He's waiting for him to sell something back here and wanting to buy something kind of interconnected.
Everybody is focused on something else until they're not. That's how that works generally.
That's exactly
There's a
how it
few that's
works.
chasing after that wanting to start their life that way, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys like him grow up, especially as country. You get to a point, it's just like you're just kind of living life, but then the right one walks by one day, and it's like, what's going on there? How are you doing?
Yeah,
How
how
you
you
doing?
doing? How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing?
Well, it's been a long time since I've been there.
Yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah.
my
Yeah.
goodness.
Not as long for me, but uh,
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky I caught mine. What do they say? I outkicked my coverage.
yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely. Um, what was I going to say? I done forgot what I was going to say. Oh, let's talk about a sale. A
Okay,
couple.
let's do it. Let's do it.
So I've got this interesting story, and for lack of time, I'll hurry through this. But I got a message at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't really pay attention to it. I was asleep, and I kind of looked at it, and I had like 5 offers on some stuff, and I'm like, I'll look at this in the morning. So when I got up, I look at it, and somebody had come in, and they were requesting, like, I want to say it was like an additional 10% off. It was about 10 to 15% off, but it was 5 different sets of dishes across the board. Like they wanted, and they didn't just want one set of each. They wanted like 4 of this one, 3 of this one, 3 of this one, 2 of this one. I'm like, man. So I got to looking at it, and I'm checking it out, and it's $220 worth of stuff, and they wanted like probably $75 off across the board. I'm like, you're buying $220. I'm pretty sure I can go ahead and give you a $75 discount because I can combine shipping on some of this, and I still had 2 packages, but I didn't have 5 packages. So at the end of the day, I saved about 60 on shipping, and he saved 75 on his price. So it kind of evens out, pretty good. But that was 5 different sets of Oneida Vibrato table trend stoneware dishes, bowls, saucers, cups, like the whole thing. Uh, but yeah, this is a really good sale. And
What
then,
usually happens to me, Caleb, in those deals is they negotiate for that discount. And then
hmm,
as soon as you agree to it, they come back and say, "Will I also be able to get a shipping discount when you combine these?"
yeah, that does happen sometimes,
And I'm
but that
like,
didn't happen.
because it's like you're trying to work out how you're still going to be able to make the profit you need to make on
Yeah,
the sale when you're doing that. Like, well, you can't have your cake and eat it too. I'm sorry.
that's right. Yeah, I mean, if we was talking like, a few dollars off of each item, I probably could have. But now you've basically ate up part of the shipping, which I saved by combining some of it.
Well,
So,
that would end up being more than the shipping discount would have been actually, because
oh
$60
yeah,
you made on it, that have saved 60. If they'd
yep,
have asked for a shipping discount, you'd have gave it back to them.
Right.
So they still come out $15 to the good by requesting 75 off. So
Yeah. They done good. I
they
done
done.
good enough,
Yeah.
We also sold the Nashville Predators jacket for $144. So that one was a
Wow.
denim jacket, and then on the back it had the Predators logo and kind of like a splash effect around it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I
Was
listed
it embroidered or was it?
it. It was yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And
Pretty
that
sure.
makes a difference. When it's
Yeah.
stitched, it's worth a lot more than just like a screen print generally,
No, it was stitched because it was the stitched is where you can feel it, right?
Yeah, I
Like
mean, it's the stitched
yep.
is thread and the other is not. It's paint.
Okay, then it
You
was
can feel it either way, I guess,
I'm talking about like it has a texture to it, like a
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, it's
yeah.
like
And
bulges out.
okay, it was stitched then, like the logo was stitched on, but it was super nice. Like, but I knew it would take time, but it really didn't. It took like about a month and it was gone. So, but I was
That's
happy with
awesome.
that one.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had a couple of decent sales too, about $100 each. I sold another Danbury Mint. That
Oh,
was my
nice.
best sale last week. $100 for this one, $99.97. It was Independence Hall from Philadelphia. So I sold
Mhm.
it. And I also, I've had these speakers. I had them, I don't know how long I've had them, too long. And I just didn't list them. But I had these. If you don't know about Definitive Technology, that brand, it's a really, really great brand of speaker, like monitor speaker and like bookshelf speakers.
Mhm.
Anyway, I bought 4 at one of the local thrift stores months back, and they've been sitting in a box. I finally pulled them out, wiped them down, and I sold this set for $100 for the pair. And I got another pair. I had them listed for 125. I took an offer, and then I have another pair that I listed for like 150, and I paid
Wow,
$6 a set for them. So
that's nice.
yeah, I
Oh.
didn't go up to the counter and ask if I could pay them more either at the thrift store. Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah, because they set their price, right? That's
yeah,
what they
I should
do.
have probably, since it's for charity, I probably should have went up there and told them, I think you priced this wrong. You didn't look this up right. Let me show you how to do this. If you want to change it, you can. It sounds good coming out, but you can't do that, people.
No,
You
well,
can't do it.
the thing about it is most of those stores get everything for free. All their product is free, donations. So, and a lot of their people are volunteers. So
Yeah.
every dime you give them is basically going towards, they got to pay rent and stuff like that. But there is no overhead as far as product, they
Yeah.
have no product. And so, I mean, if they make $20 on a $50 item and you
Hey,
buy it, you've helped them. But now if they charge 40 and nobody will buy it, who's that going to help?
and that happens. See, and that's the
So,
thing. Sometimes some of the stuff in there, like they'll have it's a $50 item on eBay and they got it priced at 40. And somebody comes there, it's nice stuff, nice electronics.
yeah.
Somebody pays 40 for it because 40 is a good deal.
Yep.
It's way cheaper than buying it new.
Oh, absolutely.
They could have put 75 or $80 on those, and if someone would have walked in and knew what they were, they would have that was looking for something, they would have jumped on it because they'd have been set. They're
Yeah.
about $200 probably for that set retail.
Yeah,
So I
but
mean,
you have to when you do that, you eliminate so many potential
oh man.
customers, like, you are waiting for that specific individual,
And the
and
problem is in a
you
thrift
can't
shop,
do it.
yeah,
It's
the
not
problem is
it's
too much
they're not
stuff
there.
coming in. Yeah, that's the other problem. Like most of them, their issue is we get more than we can process and sell.
Yep,
I mean, that's why I never understand whether it's a big store like a Goodwill or whatever it is. They'll price the stuff up so high that once a month they go through there and rake it off in tubs and let it break, the breakable stuff,
yep,
because it won't sell at those prices. And granted, some stuff wouldn't have sold anyway, but there's a lot of things that people just aren't going to pay $6 for that they give you $1 for it.
yep.
Some of that glassware stuff, they'd pay
Mhm.
50 cents or $1, but they're not going to pay $6. You can forget it,
No.
you know?
I think our Goodwill has went up to $5.99 on video games, which they ain't had none in a while, but I don't go in there much just because 'cause they're so high.
Right.
But, like, it's hit and miss, so you might find one good $20 game for $6, and then you might find a bunch of $2 games for $6, and it's like
Right.
that's lazy pricing, like,
It is.
they're just throwing a price out there, and some of it's gonna stick, but then, you go back for a year and that one game's still there, that Madden '05 is still there for 10 years, like, nobody's paying that for that.
And I get the idea that there's more money to be made if you price intelligently. I think the market's still different in a thrift environment than it is kind of like the yard sale. The market's different,
Totally, totally.
There's times when it's totally worth what they're asking at a yard sale, but people are just not going to pay that price at a yard sale because in their mind, if they go to 5 more yard sales or go again next weekend, they'll find the same item for 1/3 of that cost. So they're just not going to do it. They're just not going to. They got in their mind what's reasonable in that environment, and it works that way in a thrift store too. And if they're not careful, like I said, they do too much blind pricing like that. It's like some video games can be really valuable, so we're going to price them all at $10.
Yeah.
And so if it was one of those video games that's worth $100, somebody's going to pay $10 for it and resell it. But the problem is nobody's going to buy the other 80% that aren't worth but $6 to $8. They're just not. If I can get it for $8 free shipping off of eBay, why would I pay that at a thrift store?
Exactly.
And they do that across the board in a lot of departments now, and it really does. It hurts. It's got to hurt their bottom line like crazy.
It does. Well, let's hit our comment of the weeks.
Okay.
We'll head out. But speaking of thrift stores, this one is Rolling with Stones. Said, I found a sealed. Did I steal yours?
Yes.
I found a sealed first edition copy of the original Ghostbusters movie on Betamax at an independent thrift store. I bought it on 50% off day for 50 cents, and it sold for $2,250. That is not going to happen much, but that's awesome. That's like, I've sold a few Betamaxes, like literally a few, probably 4 or 5, and none of them, I think one was worth $20. That is unreal, but that's awesome. That's a good find, Rolling with Stones.
Yeah, and I'd actually planned to mention the same one. I thought that was incredible, and I mean that just tells you there's literal gold nuggets out there. Sometimes that's just like picking up a quarter out of the parking lot, except it's worth a lot more than that, But I'll mention this. Since you did that one, there were 2 or 3 comments about we talked about mileage and how important that was. People, I thought it was really interesting the different ways that people account for that, the different methods that they approach it from. Just a really simple tip that I thought was really good that Nathaniel and Ashley gave of how they keep up with theirs. They use their phone because it's so easy to forget to write things down. They just take a picture of the odometer before they leave and after they get home. And that way, if they forget to write it down and have taken another trip, they can always go back to their phone and pull it up and get it logged in from the trips over the weekend and stuff.
So, really good idea right there.
Yeah, just a simple backup plan, just in case,
Yep.
So,
yeah, because it is easy to forget.
It is.
All right. Anything else before we head out for the day?
That's all I got. I'm fresh out.
We've emptied the whole container today.
That's it.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys being here. Drop us a comment, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you do. Let us know you're here. And we will see you next time on Two Old Guys. Have a good one, guys.
Take care, guys.